Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Prestior, and this is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season, I think it's 15. I never remember the number. The only changes, besides just gradually upgrading people's enchantments, I've been mostly focusing on Lustriel and getting her caught up, getting her more HP and stuff. Is I actually spent some of my generic SSR shards on Talia, and just went ahead and sped her the rest of the way to 6 stars. So everyone in this roster is now 6 stars, and I believe everyone has full inscriptions now. So that's an improvement. There's still some things I can do to go ahead and improve the overall power of this team, but it requires effort that I've been not willing to put forth lately. Besides that, there was a match prior to this, which I considered showing because it wasn't too terrible, but it was a loss. Essentially, it was a combination of Akaya and Polyol that kind of did me in. There was a lot of self-resing. They even used, what's his name? Was it Vincent? The guy that explodes and self-reses, that flying unit. I did get to try out a lot, see the power of Narm and Lustriel. And surprisingly, the thing that kind of did me in towards the end was it was down to just Christiane and Polyol, and I just couldn't keep up at that point. It was amusing to see a Lustriel counterattack kill an Akaya, and then only to die from the wolf that was still around. So it was kind of interesting, but like I said, it was kind of decided at the start because my opponent had the initiative. Anyway, my opponent here is Berserker, which I believe I've fought many times in the past. So it was kind of nice to see him again. His box is... I'm not really sure what it is. It's kind of a mix, which, like I've mentioned many times, a mixed box is usually a safe box. Still, it has a lot of the staples, like a lot of the meta units. There's also this guy that I never remember the name of, but he is a very annoying long-range like spellcaster, sniper type guy. Besides that, there's a lot of stuff that can negate my guard, bypass my guard, or just flat out tank bust me. So that is something I have to take into account. My opponent went straight for Kyura of all people, so got that going. I went ahead and banned the Awakened. I did spend quite a while on this first ban because there are a lot of things I had to consider, but honestly, getting rid of the Awakened was probably the best call because swapping and teleporting and all that nonsense. Go ahead and grab Christiane. They go after my Sylvaria, go after my Auden Kelmo. Opens with grabbing Rosen Seal just right off the bat. I'm not that concerned about it. As I mentioned before, I don't really rely on debuffs anymore. So at this point I was like, alright, let's get rid of your assassins. Again, I had to spend some time kind of considering this because there are definitely some dangers here. Jintoki, Sword and Light and Shadow. But as long as I can tank a little bit, I can try to buy myself time to get kills. And I went ahead and my opponent let me have Grinshield, which is, not something I get too often, so I went ahead and grabbed her. This does give me access to both Strategic and Princess Faction. My opponent does get rid of a Lustriel, gets rid of my Rosen Seal, so I'm down to 3 healers. They grab their Grinshield. So yeah, at this point I was like, alright, let's get rid of your Sword and Light Shadow, get rid of your Jintoki, and I grabbed Narm. As mentioned before, Narm can actually assassinate if it's against a flyer. I lose Tiaras, lose my Sherry, and my opponent grabs another flyer. I was like, okay, as long as I can keep Narm alive long enough, I can gradually just snipe each of the flyers. Narm is, out of all the archers, Narm tends to be like the most ridiculous when it comes to like shooting down flyers. She just does so much damage. At this point, I get rid of what's his face I don't remember, and get rid of Lucretia, because at this point my opponent already has a healer. Them having another healer or an act again at this point is not that dangerous. Grinshield is not the only dangerous Grinshield. I mean, Wedem can be a little annoying because he has heal. His Sword Soul equivalent does do heal reversal, which does work on Christiane. At this point, I only had 1 healer left, so I had 2 healers left, so I grabbed Liana, mainly just to try my best to try to be immune to any of the status effects that Wedham does. Also, she does have better AoE healing than Sissy White. So at this point, I go ahead and I lose my Sissy White, lose my Tatalia. So I'm left with Pyrotess or Lightbringer. And my opponent went ahead and grabbed an Act again at this point. So out of everything that's here, I really just want to get rid of the Hilda here because of the crit negation. Also, Albedo can actually be kind of dangerous since she can be kind of buffed by Wedham here, but I mean, overall, it's not a big deal either way. But I go ahead and get rid of both of them because honestly, Christiane will be easier to deal with since all my stuff is physical. And I actually grab Lightbringer. I know I usually tend to grab Pyrotess when she's available, but since I'm dealing with a Grinshield, having 2 tanks gives me a lot more flexibility as far as my formation is concerned. And it makes it a lot easier for me to inch my way forward, which is something I definitely want. Also, Lightbringer is, I believe, is innately immune to heal reversal. She also has the stacks that can soak up dispels. So her by herself should be able to tank things from Wedham pretty easily. And my opponent grabs Christiane, which I'm fine with because I mentioned before, Narm can bypass guard. To be fair, most people don't fight Narm because Narm is not a meta unit. So I'm not surprised if my opponent did not know this. So, in any case, we got Grinshield here. Air Slash, 3C, Cold Shield, nothing too special with War Falcons. The War Falcons are, well, Grinshield and War Falcons is kind of a iffy thing since she only gets the bonuses if she outspeeds the opponent, which the only way that'll happen against Grinshield and Wedham is if I throw a shield at them. So that's something I have to be aware of. But really, she's just there to possibly negate the guard of Christiane. And my opponent only has 1 tank, so I can try to take advantage of this as much as possible, because my opponent's going to be kind of stuck. Lightbringer brought Phalanxes, Discipline, 3C, and Light Flow. Yeah. Heal, Reversal, Corrosive Wounding, immune to all of it. We got Narm here. Sun Piercing Arrow brought Skybreaker Shot. Skybreaker Shot is the one that's 1.4 times battle damage, and it's not only is it bonus against flyer unit, it's literally labeled as super effective against flyer. I don't know what that actually means, but it sounds amazing. But it also has Ignores Guard if it targets a flyer. I believe that's the hero unit that it takes into account, but I'm not sure because I haven't really tested it. And then, of course, Sun Piercing Arrow has a lot of bonuses and stuff as well. And then, of course, Aim just makes it easier to cycle through. The cooldown for Skybreaker Shot is only 2, so it's actually pretty easy to cycle through this. Leona here, 3C, Act Again, Heal. That's pretty much it for that. Christiane, standard kit with Phalanxes. All their stuff is physical for the most part, with the exception of the healers. So I don't really need to worry too much about any of that. Their Grinshield, same kit as mine. Stat-wise... overall, I think I have slightly better stats. My HP is a little lower, but everything else is generally higher, except for skill. Wow, her skill is ridiculous. Then we have Wedham here, Skillman Werewolves, and then we have 3C, Shadow Step, and Annihilation. So went single target here, which is fine by me. Christiane, same kit as mine. I don't know how she does compared to my stats. Her defenses are... Her regular defense is better than mine. Has better attack too. But I have slightly better magic defense and HP. And skill, but that doesn't really matter. Liana here actually brought Act Again, Prayer, and Summon Sky Archer. If she has the exclusive, the Sky Archer will also have some... additional spells that it can use, but the big point about the Sky Archer here is to give additional bodies to help cover Christiane, so she doesn't get shielded and expose the healers. Resident Seal here is Shrine Maidens with all heals, so pretty standard stuff. So at this point, the goal here is to use both these tanks. As long as I'm in a formation that can't be hit, where both can be hit at the same time by a shield. All I have to do is just make sure that both the guard coverage for both tanks covers everyone, in which case Grinshield won't be able to do anything. Alright, just moving up. Yep, so I'm just shifting up. I wasn't really expecting to hit my opponent in the first round, so I'm just taking it slow. Also, I didn't want to be in a situation where I was trading. If I give up Narm just for one kill, it may not be the best trade. I think I would still come up on top, because Wedem by himself is just not going to be able to do enough. But I didn't really. There's no reason for me to take that risk, especially since I had already lost a match prior to this, and I didn't want to lose more points. Alright, so yeah, shifting up. So having the two tanks side by side is the easiest way to ensure that Grinshield can't do anything to you. And then I can just kind of leapfrog my way forward. Obviously the center here is the two tiles in the middle. My opponent opened with throwing out the sword already. I don't know if this was just to provide... So, my only guess about this is to provide another body. That way, Christian could do something like, move up. Gradually move up and use the sword as a additional blocker. But it's a costly... This is a costly blocker, because Shadow of Alizard is 7 turn cooldown. It doesn't stick. It's a commitment. Let's put it that way. Also, it does provide bonuses to all dark type heroes, which only increases by 5%. So it's actually not as much as I thought it was. I thought it was like a faction buff. Granted, it could very well stack on top of a faction buff. At this point, I did throw 3C onto Christian. Christian is vulnerable to the heal reversal from Wedem. Granted, it's not exactly reliable, because obviously the immunity can be dispelled pretty easily with 5 dispels, but it's better than nothing. So yeah, moving up here. Throws a cold shield. I don't know. My only guess here was my opponent is expecting me to shoot Grinshield and then fall back, which would, yeah, with the shooting and the 2-step fallback that Narm can do, that would put her here. And while that still won't negate the guard, it would debuff, I think. I don't know. I don't really know what the point of this was. So yeah. Their Grinshield, of course, is within attack range. Or within my attack range, so that's why she got the shield stack, which of course added an additional, 70, 100 HP. So, full HP Grinshield, I don't know if she has last rites or not. And then I have Narm and Elven Cavalry Archers. There is no forest, grasslands, or mountains nearby, so this will be not maximized. But beyond that, I do have the 1.4 times. When attacking, I get an additional 15%, and it's going to be all of this. Let's see. So we're looking at like over 30,000 damage we need to do. I don't even think the archers got to fire. Yeah, the archers' arrows didn't even reach. That was crazy. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna move up and get some free kills. Sword versus air slash. Air slash wins. The main reason I did this, though, was just to refresh the faction buff on Grinshield, because when she gets killed, she'll get it back. Alright, so yeah, act again here. At this point, I was wondering what exactly the plan was. Yeah, I wasn't really sure what the plan here was. And then I saw this. So I take some damage. Now the damage here is actually kind of important. because Shadow Step will work at this point. So I don't know if the point here was to try to shift around in a certain way. Like, my opponent may have thought I was going to move up with Lightbringer and then move up with Leona afterwards. But I did take this into account, and I was just like, you know what, we'll just keep it safe for now. I went ahead and put an Act Again on Grinshield. That way I have a way of following up the attack. I did get the immunity dispelled, unfortunately. So I do have heal reversal. But it's not a huge deal. I can just swap. At this point, Grinshield was dead, so I could just swap Lightbringer in and just kind of go from there. And yeah, that was it for the battle. So yeah, 39, nearly 40,000 damage just from Narm by herself with that Skybreaker shot. So rather good. And then at this point, I would have just killed Wedem because he was out of position and I could shield him. And then it would just be a gradual, you know, me whittling down the tank / healers. I didn't have any way of bypassing guard beyond this, but I was ahead in damage and they didn't have any way of killing me. So at this point, the battle was pretty much decided. So there you go. All right. So yeah, one of the things I've been that I was mentioning earlier about falling behind on certain things is mainly the I mean, besides these things. Well, yeah, these things actually too. There's a number of these I haven't done yet, and some of these later ones do have access to these little Twilight Auroras. And with those Twilight Auroras, I could finish up a number of these characters. Because you need Twilight Auroras to get all these slots filled in, and then you can fill in, you know, not these ones. Then you can fill up these things that get unlocked. And these enchants here, they carry over even if you're not using the covenant in if you're not even using that covenant, it will still give you the buff. So if I were to switch to Heimdall for whatever reason, I would still get these stats, this special effect, and these stats as well. And they do, it's not a lot, but it's still, it does stack. But yeah, the things I'm falling behind on is yeah, filling these in. Heimdall only has one filled in. Freya only has one filled in. Tyr has none, and Loki has none. So I'm missing out on about 8 enchants that I could be putting on my entire group. But it's just something I haven't been really being willing to devote time towards. The other way you can get Twilight Auroras, which I'm also falling behind on, is the Ragnarok of the Realms, which I did a few of these, and then I kind of just not been touching these other ones. Like, I haven't touched the recent one. This one I haven't touched at all. I did a couple of this one. I did some of this one. Well, I did enough to get all of them. Same for this one. So yeah, I've missed out on 11 Twilight Auroras from these things. It's actually been... I usually try to look up a video because I don't really like learning these fights. I don't enjoy them. But a lot of the videos tend to rely on specific characters now that can kind of cheese the fight, and they're usually a male character, and I can't actually take advantage of it. In some cases, I'm able to kind of adjust and kind of replace certain characters with, you know, female characters that could work. But overall, it's still just a kind of a pain in the butt to kind of do all of these. So I've been pretty lazy about doing them, and some of them just take a really long time to do, like a 30-minute fight at the very least. And that's just not something I like doing. I do enjoy doing things like Forbidden Battlegrounds and stuff, even though those have been kind of ridiculous lately as well. But yeah, that's something I just haven't really gotten the gumption to sit down and do. I've also been just busy with a lot of other games lately. I've also fallen way behind on story stuff, though. Lately, I haven't really been relying on the story stuff that much. I don't really need the SSR items that you can get from them anymore. I also usually don't really need the materials or components that they they provide, because I would just gradually farm them just through general play now. But I do still want to go through the story stuff just to, of course, see the story. It's just like I said, I've just been busy with other stuff. Anyway, that's enough rambling for me, so I'm going to go ahead and call it here. I am the Depressed Dior. This was Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 15. Hey, I was right. See you guys next time.